Hi guys, and welcome to Spirit Divination with the World Divination Association. Today we have a full lineup of speakers available to you on subjects like now I'm going to deal with pendulums, but we're also looking at Lenormand, Kipper, tarot, runes, charms, numerology we have in the lineup today. So we have a set of a number of lessons that you can learn direct communication with spirit using your systems. Now, the teachers that we have on the lineup today, I would like to put out a heartfelt thank you to them for donating their time for your spiritual divination learning purposes. Every single one of them has stood up to the plate and said, yes, I am in and I am happy to teach. How you can help all the teachers that have decided to join in today is say thank you very much by following them on social media and liking their posts. Liking posts really helps us diviners sat at the other side, knowing which direction we're going into. So please like and follow all our teachers. If you are watching this on YouTube, you will see this session only. The rest of the sessions are held in our Facebook group that you can have a link to in the comments below. All you have to do is click on that link, ask to join, we'll add you today, and you will see the rest of the lineup that are coming after me. So I am talking about pendulums today, and in specific pendulums when it comes to speaking with spirit. I would love to know if you use a pendulum in your practices, what you use your pendulum for, how much you use it for spirit divination. It's you know, we all use different tools. It would be really nice to know where you're at on your pendulum journey and exactly, you know, what you use it for. You see, I've got all my lineup of pendulums here. There are a few missing as I look at them there. They do get scattered around the place in pockets and in handbags. Not that I have a handbag, rucksacks. So it's not a full compliment, but it's one of my favorite lineups. I'll put the overhead on now and we'll have a look at the pendulums that we are using today. So Craven says, what a fascinating subject. Spirit communication is something I would love to learn more about. I love your Kipper Spirit video. Well, actually this afternoon, Craven, I'm on at 3 o'clock London time, speaking with Lenormand and Kipper and determining what spirits are and what messages they have for you. There's quite a few comments coming through. Jennifer made a really good comment, which is, I want to use a pendulum more, but it feels like my hands are too shaky to trust the results. Well, that's what I'm going to show you today, how you can trust your results and what the best pendulum is to use for that specific form of divination. Each of my pendulum has a different reason of being. Each of my pendulums has a different method that I use with it. My baseline pendulum usage is the same across all, but they have very different specific reasons. As a rule of thumb, the heavier the pendulum is, the less you have to worry about shake, Jennifer. Now, I've got quite big hands for a girl. And as you see, this pendulum is bigger than my palm. It goes, I think it wouldn't be allowed on an aeroplane. I think there's a certain number of centimeters allowed in your hand luggage, because I once took the Hathor in my travel bag and it was taken out and questioned because of the length of it. But the heavier the more you can trust yourself, because pendulum is very much like muscle testing. There is an element of the human self in there. If you think about your tarot cards, for example, there's a human element in which we learn the system of tarot and then we employ our intuition on the top of that. Pendulums are very similar to that. And the Hathor, for example, an Egyptian pendulum, is extremely heavy in weight, so that when you go to hold your pendulum, it does pull downwards, so you can actually feel that pull downwards on the Hathor. 1 second. But the shapes of the pendulums also do fulfill different reasons of being. I use my pendulums from everything from dowsing through to healing, and these two in particular have spore elements in them that are used for specific types of healing. The spiral is generally one considered that raises a vibration rather than removes, whereas the three Egyptian pendulums, the Isis, Osiris, and the Hathor, they actually remove and add. Makes sense if you're doing spiritual healing. But many people think of your left hand as the receiving hand, your right hand as the giving hand, and pendulums work in very much the same way. Someone says, love my bipendals, and yes, all of these, sorry, with the exception of these two, are from the manufacturer Pendulums. That's B-A-J, pendulums. And they're made for very specific reasons. And if you actually go online and look at the history of Bai and Joseph Bai and what he believed and what he worked on for these pendulums, it's actually really incredible information. Anyway, so if you're looking to find objects, a light pendulum is the best way to go because it has that pull. You can feel a lighter pendulum and you can actually see it with your eyes when you say, where is a certain object? In fact, I wanted to find my pendulum book for you today, which is my personal book of pendulums. Where in this house is my pendulum book? My arm's a little bit wobbly there, as you can see. It's actually turning to the left. And if you're going to do pendulum healing, spirit divination, and everything rolled into one, you want to have your basics of a clockwise moment being a yes or a add if you're healing, and the anti-clockwise movement then is a no and a removal if you're doing healing. But that will apply as we go along with the spirit divination today. Lots of pendulums. Wouldn't choose healing pendulums to speak with spirit. I wouldn't necessarily use a light pendulum for speaking with spirit with, so we'll put those away. This one is very effective at speaking because it speaks of higher vibrations, etc. It's very good at speaking with spirits such as the divine, if you have that in your belief system, higher beings of some description, ascended masters, etc. And then you have the three majorly great at everything pendulums, the Isis Osiris, and the Hathor. So I'm going to pick up the Hathor. When you use a pendulum, you have to make sure that the cord is in the full control of your palm. You don't leave any dangling out. You don't have it anywhere else. You have it fixed in your palm. You also, if you see here, I have a green mark. You also have the the perfect tension, which you will get used to what that is when you have your pendulum. And the Hathors is slightly longer than the others because of the weight on there. So I have a green marker on there for the perfect situation for the Hathor. So if I just relax myself, obviously I'm not too relaxed because I'm on a live. But if you say to the Hathor, show me no. Oops. I touched the table then. So it's spinning. You will see my hand moving. Like I say, it is a part of muscle tension testing. And then with the weight of the Hathor, you can't help but your hand be moving within that motion. Stop. And then we'll say, show me a yes. And that's a tentative, slow yes to the right. Stop. So many people think it stops there. You know, you've got your yes, you've got your no. What more do you actually need a pendulum for when it comes to spirit divination? Well, if you wanted to, it's starting already. If you wanted to, for example, remove any negative energies, and my hand there is moving with that movement of the Hathor, I have to take my arm off the desk because it's starting to spin bigger. Remove any energies that don't belong to me within this space. And as you can see, it's actually doing a propeller. If I sit back, you'll be able to see the Hathor swinging round. So there's more than the subtleties of a yes and no. But on top of that, there's everything that you can ever want within a pendulum chart. I'll just turn the thing on. The reason I wanted to share with you my book that since we moved into this house has vanished, and honestly I have never looked for it until this morning, is because everything was in there. Every single pendulum chart that I've ever created for myself was in there, and every bit of healing work that I learned using pendulums, rules, etc., symbols, etc., were all in that book. And that's what I would say to anybody: if you've got a pendulum, get yourself a book and start writing a series of pendulum charts, because you can track anything with a pendulum. You can start, it's like solving a crime. You are solving pieces of a spiritual puzzle that you can use these pendulum charts for. But like Jennifer said before, we don't always trust ourselves with things like that. So you also have a series of charts to see if it's you being flaky, if it's you not being in a good place to ask the question right at that moment in time. There's a chart to see the percentage of accuracy that you have with your pendulum on that day, because day to day will actually fluctuate depending on your baseline information. And anyone who is on my mediumship course or the scrying course that's just finished will be sick of hearing me saying your baseline. But your baseline really is where you're sat at that moment that you take the pendulum in, and where you are, what your environment's doing, what your body's doing at that moment. That's your baseline. Any changes therefrom are a message from spirit. But let's have a look at the pendulum charts and see how really you can work through life and any kind of situation using your charts. Now, I work with a lot of different healing methods. There's vibrational balance in here. Then we move on to the tables of the Sai Sanjivini healing system. If anybody has had experience with that. But then you can test, you sit down to test. You've got your baseline. Where am I today? What percent accuracy am I at? And you've got your chart. And then you have the chart that says, am I coming from a correct position? Am I coming from a wrong position? Or is this just like wishful thinking? You've got a wishful thinking there. Because see, if the human part of us comes in and we say, oh, we're 100% on our pendulum, our accuracy is 100%. Well, wait a minute, is that right? Is it wrong? Or am I just wishing that it was at 100%? So you can always, at every stage of your pendulum journey and speaking with spirit, you can always come to a point where you are checking yourself over and over again. Are you making this up, or is this real? And then we have different tables. This is actually the pendulum Ouija. And obviously that word strikes fear through so many people. But the pendulum Ouija can be used to build words or get a name, for example, using your pendulum in the center, holding it above the center, and asking for the first letter, for example. Or does spirit have a message? So there's steps, and then if you're not actually speaking with spirit, or you are speaking with spirit and you want to know like a physical trait of that person, or a physical trait with you, if you're worried about your health, there's a series of health where you can go through each one and work through what your health concerns are. Somebody's asked how you hold the pendulum over these. The pendulum Ouija, you would hold it over the center because it's a full circle. You'll note I always hold my left hand like this, but that's due to the healing I do with pendulums. So that's something you'll see me just automatically doing. So I say in my head, hello. And we got a hello. Stop. I asked what the, whoops, I'll move my hand there. I asked what the first letter of the spirit's name was, and I got V. I asked for the second letter, I got I. Third letter. C. Fourth letter. T. So could be a victor with us, for example. But the whole point of this is that when you are going through this process, you aren't looking at the letters, numbers, etc. around. You let your gaze completely block out what's around so that you are not influencing that whatsoever. I do personal charts. I have it here, like these, and it says which dimension. And I work with symbol healings, and each of the numbers represents a number that means to me which dimension I am healing at, for example. But like I say, there's all I'll go through an example shortly. Oh, look there, we've got energy blockages. So for example, if you have somebody coming to you, or you have a particular problem yourself, you can ask what energy blockages you have. These are different. Fehlerquellen means the different parts where you're going wrong in your questioning. So if you get to a dead end with a reading, for example, you can look here and it'll say Übermüdung, which means overtiredness, because sometimes when we're using a pendulum, we're not at our 100% rate that we should be at. Falscher Zeitpunkt means it's the wrong time to do it right now. We also have Einfluss von anderen Personen, which means that there is somebody around you in your environment that is influencing these answers. So if you sat with a client, for example, they could be thinking what the answer is, and that's actually influencing what you're asking. So like I say, at every point there's always a way to actually get yourself on track. This is a something's not right, and in the something's not right, it'll tell you, you know, energetically if there's something wrong with you or your client that is hindering a situation. That's all physical. We have percentage probability of something actually happening. You can also use that for number of days, for example, as well. They are relationship compatibility. Wow, personal motivator. So if anybody has a question from Spirit, let's get the pendulum out and we'll see what kind of charts we can use to see what kind of querent. We've got the chakras on this one, for example. We've got light and color therapy, which actually can tell you the level of spirit you're dealing with as well. So the type, that's plants. We don't need plants. Business decisions, and that's what I'm saying. With anything, you can use anything. Hermit says, Tony, what to do in such situations when your pendulum is confirming something that the person you do denies it to you? Is it possible that emotions affect the answer? Absolutely. We are human at the end of the day. That's why you need to do all these spot tests on ourselves. We need to know our baselines at all time. Otherwise, we can't say if that's true or not. However, when you know that you've started that baseline in a completely neutral position, then there is no influence in it because you are neutral. Your body is then just a channel. Just like if you're channeling spirit, then you've got to be that neutral channel, or you'll change those things in your conscious mind to be something that actually works for you. Where did you find all of these charts? These are a mix of different online resources that I actually found. I wanted to show you my own because I don't really use these anymore because I've gone on to more specific charts for myself. So sadly, I can't show you that. But these are all online resources that I found. This one's just been updated, actually. I can find the links and put them in. And then you've got an astrological one. And all the elements within there as well. So Michelle says, we have Pendulum Palooza book that Roger and I wrote. Absolutely. Question for your example, will my health improve to stop hair loss? Okay. So we're speaking with spirit. We want to see where I'm at. And I'd say that's about 96%. So I'll take that because I do still have the cold that I'm dealing with. And then we go to, what's the question? Will my health improve? Okay, then I want I'll actually use the Sai Sangiovini with you as well, so you can see actually how you can use it on those. Just 1 second. Okay, in fact, I'm going to draw my own. You can see in there, you know, how often I just doodle a pendulum chart for myself. T in the middle is telos for me. So if you know what the telos system is, that's where I always begin my neutral pendulum dowsing. And then we go across and we have our blank, whereas this is 0 and that is everything. Okay, so if I want to know where Lisa's health is at the moment, so I want to know Lisa's baseline for health. Just doing that so I can put my elbow down. You get a more stable answer when you get your elbow on. You put it in the middle of the T. So if we look at that as a percentage, we're probably looking about a 70%. Now I am not talking that you are at 70% full capacity for health. I'm talking about the hair loss and what you are at right now and where it will be within 1 year. So that's a 75% or 80%. So you have a move up from here round to there in a betterment. So your question being, will your health improve to stop hair loss? You can obviously go through all the reasons of the hair loss and everything within this book. But here we can say, yes, you will see a betterment. You may not see full recovery within a year's time, but there will be a marked betterment within your health at that time. Somebody asked, can Spirit tell them what blockages they have? I will go back to the hair loss in a second when I get the healing stuff out. I have to find those blockages now. Something's not right. What are my, let me see the questions, what blockages I have. That's a possible. All right. I'm going to do one to see which level of aura or self is it in. So I'm going to do physical. I'm going to do your super conscious, which is your higher self. Conscious. And your emotional, which is your subconscious. So the core of your issue is within your subconscious. The way when we're dealing with spirit, we want to be at super conscious all the time, but our subconscious gets in the way, and physical and conscious. We know the physical is not in the mix, but the subconscious is the direct link to the conscious. So we have a double whammy of something starting in your emotional triggers, sets off a conscious reaction that then gives you your blockages at super conscious. So if we were to then look, what are these emotional triggers? Let's think about what emotional triggers would you put on a chart? What emotional triggers? We can have fears, for example. We can have events, so an actual event that keeps coming up in your subconscious. We can have Oh, sorry, I was just reading comments then. So you've got your fears, you've got your events. What else can people, for sure. Karma can get in if you're carrying any karma from emotional triggers from a previous life. And then let's think about the emotional triggers that are, you know, not related to something, but related to ancestry, so your ancestors. Let's have a look. So, what are the emotional triggers that we just saw? Okay, karmic. Is there another reason other than karma? No. Well, that's great. So I have a really great way to release these blockages that you think that you have by drawing this symbol between your wrist on your left hand and your elbow. You draw the karmic caterpillar down your left arm, 5 circles with dots in and 2 things at the end, to release those karmic blockades that you have within yourself that really get in the way of spiritual stuff. I know Michelle says you sound sick. I've been ill for 2 weeks, Michelle. I'm actually getting much better today than I have. I'm going to ask, because Hermit's dad has just passed away, and we're going to create one just for Hermit. We'll do a anti-clockwise for yes, a clockwise, for no, clockwise for yes, and then we'll put different points along. And we will see what decks I've got in front of me. What else? One more. Is Hermit's dad in spirit and available to Hermit? You see, Hermit, that's a really big yes. Stop. Stop. Stop it with my hand. Does Hermit's father have a message for her? Yes. It's wobbling a lot, so it's like it's almost tentatively. Maybe doesn't feel completely comfortable with it. And you see, I've asked which system I should use. And yes, it's pointing up here, but it's actually on the Hathor, you can feel it coming down here. So it's not a message that's going to come through a system. I can use a pendulum chart. So a few little things. What would, in fact, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, I've only got 4 on there. So we've got 4 things that he could answer to this. 1, 2, 3, 4. And we'll put an extra one in for 0. How many of these does Hermit's father have a message on? 0. So we are not using that one. So I made one in my mind because obviously this is a a personal message for Hermit. So I have created a pendulum chart with intentions around of what the message could be. I'm going to see. Okay. So as I'm doing this, I'm asking questions in my head and I'm getting the confirmation that I need to give on my message. And as you see, it keeps coming down here. Now, my personal intention in that when I'm speaking with spirit within my head, I'm constantly asking questions. I'm constantly trying to gauge how the pendulum feels, because there is a distinct feel to that pull. Sometimes it'll like swing like crazy, but other times it pulls, and that pulling tells us something within our pendulum chart too. So Hamid, your father wants you to know that he is okay. However, he's in a period of adjustment, and it's a time at which he really needs to settle into his soul a little bit, and he just needs a little bit more time before you feel him so actively. So don't worry, that will absolutely come. It's just a period of readjustment where he's at now, but he is perfectly where he should be and perfectly in the state that he should be in. He's just going through that readjustment period, and he will be in your life with full force thereafter. And that's from the questions I asked of that pendulum chart that had my intention in it, but I didn't want to write it actually down. Can you write down the names and pendulums? Can we find them? If you look for BAJ pendulums, that's the only thing you need. Their information in the UK, in the US, and they have a German that was the original manufacturers. But if you search for BAJ pendulums, I'm not sharing my affiliate link. I'm just telling you that you can go there, and they have the information on the website what the pendulums are good at. And if you want a second opinion, ask me in any of our groups, because I worked with probably a large proportion of the biopendulums. Okay, so the last thing I'll do is the Sangiovini stuff, because there's a few health things on there. Do I want the cards, or do I want my... Sangiovini is a free healing with prayers system based on a prayer being transformed into a symbols. If you Google Sai Sangiovini, that's SAI, and Sangiovini is SANJEEVINI. It's a whole free healing system. I can't advocate them enough because I've used it a hell of a lot. I don't know why I've not used it on my cold this time, because I think I like to torture myself a little bit. But what you can do with your pendulum as well is detect the core health problems using the Sai Sangiovini system. You can create a system where you are adding those prayers into a whole unit that is then used for a specific situation like the hair loss, for example. If you go into the site Sangiovini's and look for hair loss, you will find other things that go with that actually work together. It is very effective for me, that work together, but you can use your pendulum for that at all times. Somebody says, I suffered a breakout of skin rashes, not able to find the root cause. Can I check if it's food, medicines, or something else? Okay, well, we'll keep it that simple to start with. We'll do food, medicines, and something else. I'll put the overhead on. Where is my pendulum now? Here. Something else. And I actually I will have to find it and actually share it in the group afterwards. I do believe I have a food, it's not food, sorry, and allergies, parasites. We have food allergies. There we go. Oh, that's the actual foods. That's not what we're looking for. We're looking for allergens, flower essences, herbal remedies. Nope, I'm not going to find it for you. I will find it and share it in the group. Just remember, if you're joining on YouTube, we've got a full day of teaching on the WDA open event, Spirit Divination. It's going to follow me with Speaking with Spirit with runes, tarot, Lenormand, Kipper, charms. There's also a chance of a free reading as well. The lovely Yasna is doing free readings for an hour for everybody, with our lovely Halloween theme, of course, of speaking with the dead. So in the comments, if you're on YouTube, you will find us in Facebook all day long. Jane is joining you in 20 minutes doing rune divination in order to speak with ancestors and ancestry lines, and even creating a binds therefrom to make sure that you can communicate better with your ancestors than you ever have done before. So thank you. It was a bit different to my usual. I do teach a full pendulum practitioner course on the World Divination Association, which is currently today 55% off. So if you are buying, quickly do it before 31st, which is Monday. A lot of information there. Thank you. I will see you at 3 p.m. with Lenormand and Kipper and messages from the dead with a twist.